Greetings and welcome back to Daily Drive with myself, Base Driver, here at Paine's Games, where if you enjoy the content, then I invite you to leave a like and comment, share this with your friends, and most importantly, hit that subscribe button and the bell icon to ensure you get notifications of my latest content. Today's a bit more of a freeform video, as I alluded to yesterday. The storms have set me back a little bit, and I'm still doing a bit of catch up. But I wanted in this video to talk a little bit about primarily defending your product or brand, and secondly, grace in receiving accolades. I suppose there's a tertiary element towards nurturing one's demographic or audience too. It's related to some gaming news breaking about the interwebs in the past couple of days, but I'll be starting with a little bit of anecdotal background because the nature of the news to which I refer once again seems to be a case of the layers peeling back to reveal a rot that has been fermenting in the background all the way back to my days as a gaming grunt in the industry. Okay, let's get to it. So, as you see on screen right now, Electronic Arts has seen a massive dip in their value. Primarily, many are suspecting it's because of Veilguard. I would say that's probably absolutely right, and it's not just because of the janky graphics, the terrible storyline, the terrible scripting, the absolutely awful voice acting, the absolutely cringe janky animations, the generally poor graphical quality. There's a lot probably to be said of it. I won't speak of the gameplay because I haven't actually played it. I haven't seen much of the gameplay. But I'd also say that this has been very strongly aided along its way by the conversation surrounding the product. Equally, for Ubisoft Entertainment, you see that they've been taking a bit of a hit, taking a massive dip right there to like 9.9. I mean, it's not been great, down 42.38%. That's not been good for them, and obviously that's probably tied in with the Assassin's Creed Shadows issue somewhat, one would suspect. Again, another issue of not reading the temperature of the room correctly by any means, and allowing damage to occur to your brand, because you haven't just been keeping things in check. And as I alluded to in my intro here, this is something that's been fermenting for a long time. A lot of people have asked me over the years, why are you not in marketing? And one of the reasons that they do this is because I pointed out things like, for example, here, this is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Now, way back when this came out in 2009, November I believe it was, I was working at a particular publishing company, and our head offices for Europe were based in a particular location where directly opposite us on one of the main trunk roads in and out of London, we had a huge derelict building that was covered in an advert. And on the run up to release of both Modern Warfare 2 and the product for which I was working on, which we all sunk many hours of hard work and we were all super proud of. We were super proud of this product, and I felt it was a big product for the company. At the time, it didn't do so well because of this reason, and also it has gone on to become a popular product. I worked on it briefly, one of the first products that I actually worked at that company on briefly, and then later on a digital re-release of it, much more thoroughly in another capacity. Anyway, I'm driving to work, and I get to this building, which, like I say, is on one of the main corridors, trunk roads in and out of central London. And right opposite our building is a 10-story poster wraparound of the building of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Now, if you want an example of letting something go that damages your brand integrity and your brand's competitiveness, I'd say allowing your main competitor to put a poster 10 stories high, staring down into your CEO's and executive's office, you gotta have something wrong with letting that happen. So I walked into the building, I got my cup of coffee on the 5th floor right next to the exec suite, looking out over the view of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, and I made myself super popular by exclaiming loudly, "I don't care how much it costs, get that down." Again, let me be clear, I was a gaming grunt. I had no power at this company. You'd be surprised how little power most people at any of these companies actually have. But the point still stood, and many people over the years have seen me make points like this and say, you should have some sort of control. More recently, a colleague of mine who's a 30-year marketing manager has also said, you should be in marketing. And it is because I notice things like this, but at the end of the day, it's not my thing. You know what my main principle is? If it's good enough product, it will sell itself. Okay. So there's also this secondary part that I want to talk about, which is having grace in receiving accolades or awards. Now, there are plenty of cases of people turning down accolades and awards in history, okay? One of which is the Oscars, and here we have George C. Scott, who turned down his for Patton in 1971 because he believed that every dramatic performance was unique and could not be compared to others. That's a very base statement right there. I quite like that. Then you have the Grammys with Sinead O'Connor in 1991, expressing her belief that artists should speak the truth and inspire rather than focus on material gain. Also pretty based. Then we have people who've turned down other prestigious awards, and you've got lots of people who've turned down OBEs, CBEs, Knighthoods, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, when I put my teeth back in. And a lot of the time these people have actually done it with a great deal of grace. And as I've just exemplified with those last couple, sometimes with a really good reason as well. I mean, take this last one, the Nobel Prize. Jean-Paul Sartre declined it in 1964 because he did not want to be institutionalized, which is, again, a super based comment and really prescient in today's landscape, as the real Game Awards, which we're about to talk about, they are the alternative to that institutionalization of the Game Awards, the Jeff Keighley one. Now, this also does extend to not wanting not just awards, but money. I'm going to give you an example here of Morrissey, and this is from the Manchester Evening News. Now, this is a while back now, but Morrissey actually did a tour whereby he insisted on every venue not serving meat products, not just here in the UK and Ireland, but in America and elsewhere across Europe. And I would posit that the majority of the audience for Morrissey are of an age where being vegan wasn't necessarily a big thing. I mean, sure, it was often the butt of many jokes on various BBC and Channel 4 comedies, but being vegan wasn't like it is today, and you certainly didn't have quite as prevalent a number of activists out there screaming about how evil we all are if we do eat meat. Hey, I don't care if you do or don't, okay? At the end of the day, if you're trying to sell your product and you say, excuse me, if any of you are eating meat, then we don't want you here really, and we're going to show you that by not providing for you at your gigs, it's a bold strategy. Wonder if it worked out for him. And this is where we come to this news. So, like I say, I, like many other people, watched the Real Game Awards last week. I did a live stream of it, Backseat Driver. And within it, one game was nominated by the paying public, by which I mean people who paid to vote, as well as I mean people that probably bought this title, Nightmare Kart, which won the best racing game. And I'm looking at it, and I've not played it, okay? I didn't actually know about it before the Real Game Awards, okay? I'll be honest about that. But I'm looking at something, it's kind of like a combination of Quake and Carmageddon. Yeah? Great. And out of nowhere, this person has been voted for by a number of the public to win this award. Now, as I highlighted before, there's plenty of people who have turned down awards and done it in a gracious way. There's even people like Morrissey who've turned down money in not such a gracious way. But here we have someone who has both turned down the award in ingracious fashion and also really gone against that last point I was going to make about nurturing your demographic or your audience. They haven't defended their brand, they haven't nurtured their audience, and they certainly haven't had grace in receiving accolades. Because, brace yourself, because this is what they posted in response. So honoured to have won the coveted Anti-Woke Game Awards Best Racing Game category as a trans woman, it is so comforting to see them prioritise diversity, equality and inclusion. Okay? To celebrate, I'm going to, and I'm afraid I can't finish that sentence because the things that I have blurred out on the screen are just not something I can really say with the hope of my channel ever growing or seeing any traction in the algorithm. Suffice to say, if you're trying to ride the winds of success or achievement, if you are trying to convince those that did play your game and did not care about your politics, your gender, your sexual predilections or preferences in the slightest, and frankly, most of them probably didn't even know, if you're going to say thanks but no thanks, that's one thing. But then to go and say the things that I cannot repeat to you here, you've gone and alienated those people that did vote for you, and you have possibly destroyed any chance of those people repurchasing your game. And it's saying, I don't want your praise, and I don't want your money. So one has to ask the question, what is it they do want? And this is one of the things that worries me with all this. If they don't want your money, which they obviously don't because Concord's lost a whole bunch of money, EA stocks are falling through the floor, Ubisoft stocks are falling through the floor, everyone's losing tons of money, but they're still producing this stuff. It's not because they want your money. It's because they want your allegiance. They want your subservience. They want your consciousness, essentially, is what they're saying with these sort of statements. Yeah, that sounds maybe quite hyperbolic, but one has to question when you infuse all of these politics into whether it's your game or your response to receiving an award, when that is the primary behind the drive behind everything you're doing. Yeah, you've got to ask the question, why are you doing this? Do you not want to pay your bills? Do you not want to receive accolades from your peers? Or even better, none of your peers essentially within the industry, but the people that actually bought your game? It's quite an interesting tactic, and perhaps we should watch to see if it pays out for them. But like I say, this sort of thing has been bubbling away from the very bottom to the very top in the industry since, like I say, since my time, that particular instance I've quoted at the beginning, way back in 2009, right up to today, and through my time at Blizzard. Now, full disclosure, I've mentioned this before, I worked on World of Warcraft as a independent third-party tester, external, and that was pre-launch. This was a long time pre-launch as well. I worked on it for at least 18 months, I think. And again, I took it seriously. I had a housemate at the time who ruined their life on it and did not take it seriously at all. And just like many people, just played it for the fun of it. I regularly was submitting bugs. I actually do remember very specifically in the Night Elf starting area as a druid. There's one particular character stood out in the forest near some spiders, and his quest was an absolute mess. It was broken for a long time, and I did a lot of bug submissions on that, verified bugs that they did eventually get rid of or whatnot. Again, I'm not claiming any big thing to that. I was a gaming grunt, but I was exposed to a lot of what was going on in the chat, and obviously the forums and all of that data. But again, I used some of this in my degree, which I keep on banging on about. There was a lot of this sort of stuff going on then. But now, like I say, I think exposure of the internet and overexposure of people to the internet, much like we spoke about with Alyssa McCante yesterday, whose therapist is telling her to stop using social media, protecting your brand has become a real minefield. And here we have Kyle Jacob Hickey, as reported here, on Side Scrollers, who I know have their own controversy this week. There was Tangential. That's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about this. This person here, who works at Blizzard, applicable things to your local MAGA. And again, in this day and age, in the UK at least, this is certainly something that our government has recently said. You'll have people banging on your door to come and have words of you for posting. So I think it is entirely correct that this person's social media accounts are now gone and scrubbed. The internet never forgets though, and certainly these guys have not forgotten. And again, it is endemic of a rot that has been building for all of this time, since when I was working back at Blizzard way back then, through my time at the company I mentioned in my Modern Warfare, and it's from the top to the bottom, as I relayed yesterday in my video about Jaffe and Mercante. You know, they're an example of where the rot lies, and also my video the previous day on Elon and Alana Pierce. The rot is total, the rot is everywhere, but people are starting to vote with their wallets, and people are starting to respond in the correct way to those who do not attempt to protect their brand, who do not attempt to garner any sort of ground that they make with their product in favour of ridiculous politics or personal values that frankly are going to not do them any favours in the long run. I don't understand it myself, but this is the days we live in. It's a bold strategy. Let's see if it works out for them. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this content, and if you did, please do leave a like and comment. If not, leave a dislike. Feel free to share on social media, and most of all, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to be informed of my next video. This has been Bass Driver from Paine's Games. Thanks again for listening. Take care out there, and I'll catch you in the next one.